Hey explorers, Brian here at 32,000 feet up. Bet it won't take long for you to guess where we're heading today. We've arrived at our destination and I purchased a map, but something about it looks a little bit off to me. No worries though, you see maps like these are actually used in much of the southern hemisphere. Australia is located southeast of Asia and bordered by the Pacific and Indian Oceans. It's grouped geographically with Oceania as part of the region known as Australasia, which includes New Zealand and neighboring islands. The island of Australia is generally considered both a continent and a country. It is the sixth largest country in the world by area and would be by far the largest island in the world, but typically is not included on that list because of its continental status. Among the continents, it is the smallest and flattest. We have quite a bit on the agenda for today, so let's get to it. We've already identified where Australia is, and our other objectives are to examine the country's history, then analyze its people and political and economic structures. As we move through today's lesson, have the PDF printed out and note similarities and differences between Australia and the US. Hit pause as needed, explorers. The name Australia comes from the Latin term Terra Australis, which means southern land. It was first used by 18th century British cartographer and navigator Matthew Flinders, who supposedly came up with the nickname Land Down Under based on its location in the southern hemisphere. The history of Australia dates back centuries before the name.
While there is still some debate about how people first came to Australia, most believe that people traveled from Asia via land and sea at least 50,000 years ago. Those people, now called Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, were hunters and gatherers, lived in small groups, and developed well over 200 different languages. Their customs varied from one group to another, but as a whole they shared a great respect for the land and nature. Who do those Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people remind you of?
Yes, the Native Americans, also called the First Peoples of the Americas. That's the first of many similarities you'll see between the two groups. Please note those in the proper places on the PDF and pause if needed.
As the first human arrivals, naturally the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people were the first humans to live in the outback. Over time, they developed both an understanding of the land's fragility and a sacred obligation to protect it. They had few possessions and no system of writing, but rich oral histories.
Reverential towards the land, they passed from one generation to the next mythology and legends such as Dreamtime about the creation of the world. According to legend, ancestors gave humans responsibility for taking care of the earth. Ancient knowledge was handed down from parent to child regarding sacred sites of ancestors. Many Aboriginal artists left records of these stories on rock paintings and through carvings.
The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people were isolated from the rest of the world for thousands of years. That all changed in 1770, when explorer James Cook claimed Australia for Great Britain.
One of the natives' strongest principles was to take only what is necessary for survival without destroying the land. As with native peoples all over the world, this view clashed with the Europeans, which generally believed that land should be used to produce sellable goods. The island's first white inhabitants were inmates from British prisons, sent to alleviate overcrowding there. When the two groups collided, Aboriginal peoples suffered massive losses from disease and European weaponry, as British migration continued to increase throughout the late 1700s into the 1800s. Again, consider the similarities to America's first peoples. Settlement from Britain and other European nations continued into the 1900s, but most of those immigrants sought land with milder climates on the eastern and southeastern coasts. That left much of the land to its original inhabitants. The late 20th century brought significant positive changes to the natives. In 1976, the Aboriginal Land Rights Act was approved, making it the first federal law in Australia providing a basis on which Aboriginal people in the Northern Territory could claim land based on traditional occupation. It established a procedure that transferred almost 50% of land in the Northern Territory to collective Aboriginal ownership. In 1981, almost 40,000 square miles of land in South Australia was returned to Aboriginal ownership. And in 1995, the Indigenous Land Corporation was established by the federal government to assist Aboriginal people with acquiring and managing land. Despite these positive developments, Aboriginal Australians still face a lack of access to proper health care and economic opportunities. Indigenous Australians are almost twice as likely to live in poverty there. Aboriginal people comprise less than 3% of Australia's 26 million people, according to the 2016 census. Just over a third of the people list themselves as English in heritage, another third cite Australian, and the remainder are a blend of Irish, Scottish, Chinese, Italian, German, Indian, and other ancestries. As a result, the culture is uniquely diverse as well, with influences from each of those groups as well as from the United States. With more than 2.9 million square miles of land, Australia has one of the lowest population densities in the world at just 7 people per square mile, less than 1/13 that of the U.S. The common language is English, but there is no official language. As you already know, it sounds a bit different here than in England or the US, mate. More than half of the population is Christian, but almost 1/3 lists no religion as their preference. Australia has one of the world's highest life expectancies at better than 80 for men and almost 85 for women. After flirting with the idea of becoming an independent republic, a referendum was narrowly defeated as recently as 1999. Despite those discussions, the Commonwealth of Australia remains a constitutional monarchy tied to the United Kingdom under the reign of the British monarch. The executive branch includes a prime minister elected by the people and a governor-general appointed by the monarch. Otherwise, Australia's 3 branches of government are quite similar to the U.S., with an elected bicameral legislative body and a judiciary appointed by Governor-General on advice from Parliament. The Governor-General is also considered part of the legislative body. Also similar to the U.S., Australia's constitution provides a system of federalism, dividing power between a national government and Australia's 6 states and 10 territories. A wealthy nation with a strong market economy, Australia capitalizes on its vast resources to benefit most of its citizens. Poverty is low, and the average GDP per capita in 2022 was estimated to be $64,895, which ranked among the world's wealthiest. The beginning of Australia's prosperity came in 1851, when gold was discovered in the outback. The nation today still has vast reserves of gold, coal, iron ore, copper, zinc, uranium, and is the world's largest exporter of bauxite, which is used to create aluminum. Australia has several oil and natural gas reserves, both offshore and in the interior. Despite the vastness of the arid outback, agriculture is part of the economic backbone for the nation. Many who came to Australia looking for gold stayed down under to start ranching. Australia is home to many huge sheep and cattle ranches. One is Anna Creek in southern Australia, which encompasses over 13,000 square miles, making it bigger than Connecticut, Delaware, and Rhode Island combined. Some ranches are so large that livestock is rounded up using helicopters and trucks. Lots of information was given today, explorers. Today's focus was on the history of Australia as well as its people and political and economic structures. However, don't forget to complete the lesson PDF. Give it a look to review what you learned about Australia and its many similarities to the United States. That's all for today, but we've booked a guide to take us all over the country. We're starting with the Outback. See you next time as we keep exploring.